Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders. And today we have the most special guest, Michelle Lee. Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, Michelle. It's so great to have you.
Oh, thank you, Tula. This is a pleasure and a privilege for me. So much gratitude.
So for our listeners and viewers, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Michelle now because she is extraordinary. Michelle Lee is an Australian adventurer and keynote speaker whose life has been shaped by choosing courage in small, consistent ways. She holds a world record and a Guinness World Record for her solo ocean rows, including becoming the first Australian woman to row across the Atlantic and later rowing across the Pacific. Michelle shares her experiences not to highlight achievement, which is very humble, but to show what's possible when an ordinary person follows curiosity, leans into growth, and takes one brave step at a time. Her work now focuses on resilience, mindset, and helping others reconnect with their own inner strength. 1 second, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Michelle, absolutely amazing achievements. A huge congratulations to you. It's such an honor. So I'm going to get straight into our interview now. And the first one is actually quite personal, if you don't mind sharing. And that is, what would you say are some of the biggest personal obstacles you've had to overcome on your way to success, or what was the catalyst to make you do what you've done?
Lovely question. So overcoming obstacles, self-belief always is going to be number one, and also imposter syndrome. So having that little birdie on your shoulder that says, who, you think you can row across an ocean? So they were my two biggest and probably most consistent challenges that I had to deal with throughout the whole journey. And what I found was when I started to take really positive, committed steps towards the goal, I could speak it more clearer. I could speak it as though I owned it. But certainly in the beginning, when I said I'm going to be Australia's first female to row solo across any ocean, I really struggled because I had zero background. I was not elite, not an Olympian. I was not even a rower. I didn't have a boat, So you can imagine, how can you own any of that? It's a big, bold, loud statement when you've got, the little birdie on your shoulder as well going, what? Who are you? And it was all, the catalyst was a book. I read a book called Rowing the Atlantic. So I do issue a warning. Yeah, I issue the warning, and that is be careful what you read, because it inspired me to, just really have a look at my life, which I did an assessment and decided that my life was so predictable, so comfortable, it's so cruisy. I needed to shake things up, and, I'm not that creative. So I just thought I better just copy Ros Savage and row across an ocean.
Wow. So there wasn't an actual I don't know, epiphany. I guess it was an epiphany, but I mean, it wasn't that you'd been through something like a big trauma and thought, right, I'm rising above this and I'm going to row across the ocean. It wasn't anything like that. It was not a simple, but a matter of, would you say being in a rut?
Well, actually, I had come out of a 20-year-long relationship. Yes, okay. So you're spot on. And that instigated a whole host of, questions for me, like, what now? Who am I? It'd been a us and a we for 20 years since I was 18. So, big portion of my life to age 38. And I started to just really question what now? And, you know, as a single female, I was kind of like looking at this exit as permission to just do whatever I want without consideration of anybody else. And that led me on, you know, I always say one thing leads to another. So, you know,
I'm going to just interrupt you for a minute with my apologies. But your camera is shaking.
Yeah, sorry. And then sort of, okay, yeah. So my life is a story of one thing leads to another. So yes, the marriage ended, and then it was, you know, me now going, oh gosh, what does Michelle want to do? You know, I don't answer, I don't ask, I don't justify, I don't explain. And not that my marriage was of dictatorship at all, but all of a sudden I'm in a whole new world, and that is of just me, myself, and I. No longer do I have to consider anybody else. So I went on a series of, you know, go find Michelle. So I found that hiking is my passion, putting on a backpack where you have to be completely self-sufficient. You know, I threw in the gauntlet with my work, my training buddies, and we all went and did Kokoda together. So, you know, training for Kokoda was, you know, my first real taste of, oh my God, I love hard things. I love getting thrown into, you know, where the deep end basically. So Kokoda then led to, you know, a couple of solo holidays. And next thing you know, I meet Tony in Thailand. That was my first solo holiday, which then led to me saying yes to going and spending, you know, it was meant to be 6 weeks on a yacht, but ended up being 2 years. So, you know, like this is what I'm saying, just one thing unfolds, and I was just prepared to go with the flow. I had said to myself, I'm just going to say yes to any opportunity and work out the finer details later. And that's exactly what I did. And, you know, it's amazing what comes to you and what doors open when you commit fully, you know, with this heart and brain coherence where there's no conflict between head and heart. And all as I knew was I'm saying yes to anything, and we'll just see what the hell happens. So my life, no children, and I'm not demanded upon by anybody, you know, by family members or anything. So I truly was free and solo and could say yes to anything without impacting too many lives. And I think that's important to say as well, because, you know, it was an easier decision when it's only you to rely on yourself.
And another thing that comes to mind for me is you said, you know, when you commit to someone, when you have a clear goal, and I imagine that when you read that book and you were inspired, you had a vision, you knew that you wanted to do it, you didn't have a boat, you didn't know. So you led, all that happened was, it goes back to when you have an inspiration, when you have a vision, you don't need to know how it's going to happen. You just need to have it. You need to be committed to it, and then opportunities just come along the way.
That's it. And that is the law of the universe. It is when you commit fully 100% without conflict and with that brain and heart coherence. And don't worry about the how. Don't worry about the where. You know, I needed nearly $200,000 for the first row because I had to build the boat. Don't worry about all that detail. It will come. But it requires you to just, you know, trust in the universe.
Yes.
And this is back when, you know, I wasn't a rower, not elite, didn't even know if I liked rowing. That was irrelevant because remember, I've read the book. The books, you know, inspired me and really fired me up to want more for my life and want more from life. I wanted to step out of the queue and stop just taking what's divvied out to me. No, it wasn't enough.
No,
so I was really
enough.
in that position. Yeah.
And for our listeners and viewers, what was the book called?
It was called Rowing the Atlantic by Ross Savage.
Okay. I hope you've got that for our listeners and viewers. It sounds amazing. Now, I'm going to move on to some other questions, but before I do that, I would love to know more because certain thoughts came across my mind when I watched your videos and I heard, you know, that you did this. The thought of just rowing for an hour for me is, you know, that's a challenge. So I want to know simple things like, you know, for instance, did you come across whales? You must have. Did you come? I mean, a whale could overthrow your boat. just like that. Or, massive storms that could topple you over, things like that. How often, like, obviously you couldn't have had supplies for a year, just in terms of logistics. Did you stop for supplies? Other questions might, spending a year on your own, what was that like? I mean, all these questions are coming out, and I don't know if you'll remember them. But certain things like that. You were on your own. You didn't have support vessels alongside you, as far as I could tell. So do you remember all these questions I've just fired at you?
Absolutely. Yes, I do. Yeah, for sure.
Please tell me.
So my first row, the Atlantic, which was in 2018, that was in fact done with a professional organization. So Atlantic Campaigns, every year they run the Atlantic race. So, and in that you can be a boat with 5 people, 4, 3, 2, or you can be a solo. So I signed up as a solo, and the beauty of doing that first row with Atlantic Campaigns is they taught me how to row an ocean. So they gave me a Bible. I used to call it my Bible, and that had all of the specifications that my rowing boat had to be built to. So I couldn't buy a boat that was already finished in Australia. There were none for sale. So the best thing that I could do was to buy the plans and build the boat. And along the way, I kept having to send little update videos and have Zoom updates with the race organizer and the safety officer in the UK. I'm in Sydney. This is all during, no, this was not during COVID. So yeah, so I'm sending videos back and forth so that they can see my whole build plan, to make sure that I am adhering to these very specific specifications that these boats are built to. And that's all for your safety. So, yep, rode the boat, the ocean with Atlantic Campaigns. They taught me how.
In a race, you were surrounded by other boats, right?
No. Oh, no. Once you start, once the gun goes and everyone crosses the start line, you never see anyone again. So the way that we all disperse across, you think how big an ocean is. So get a picture in your head. Just
but aren't
how
you going
far.
the same way? Like, don't you have the
Oh,
same?
no, everybody has a different strategy, and every boat, so the boats and the boat designs, they behave very differently in wind, current, and wave. So, the newer models that are all out now, the Rennick design, they will always be faster than my boat. So I built a Woodvale design. I chose to build classic. I wanted to go in the first sort of design, and which meant I have to really row. I don't really get the same assistance as these newer boats because they get a lot of wind assistance just because of the configuration of the cabins. And so they'll always be faster than me. But then if you're a 5, a 4, a trio, well, you're always going to be faster than me as well. And when you get out there, everyone has their own strategy, whether you're going to head south for the first 40 miles before you even think about heading west, which was our strategy. That was my strategy. So I crossed the start line and they get all the solos out last. So all the teams, they go first in increments. Every 7 minutes, a new boat goes, the next boat goes, the next team goes. Wow. Then you're down to the last 5 solos. Okay. In that, I watched them all go in different directions and I'm thinking, what do they know that I don't know? Like, oh my God, where are they going? And then I had to remember, I have a race strategy with my weather router. We have discussed this, we have planned it, and there's a purpose for me doing this. So I had to stick to my game plan. Okay. And I never saw another boat out there. Once we were all dispersed, I never saw another ocean rowing boat.
Okay, that's pretty amazing. So would you say that prepared you for the second one that you did all on your own?
Yes. So thank you for that experience, because it then set me up fundamentally to be able to row independently. So I basically followed all those rules and regulations. My boat was built to very strict regulations, so that was good. And then I also had all of my weaknesses were highlighted on the Atlantic. So all the things that, I wish I knew, but I didn't, because often you turn up to these things, you think you're so prepared, but there's so many conditions and scenarios you cannot mimic and mock in the training. So when I got out there, I was seeing things. I was in a world of firsts, and even just losing sight of shore. That is the first time when we rowed out of the harbour and we weren't turning around to come back. This is not a practice row. You're still going. that to me was a shock. It took 3 days to lose complete sight of shore, of land. And then I remember coming out on the third morning, opened my hatch, and I've just gone, oh my God, this is real now. You know?
Well, how did that feel? Tell me.
Surreal. Yeah, unreal. It really did. It was like a sudden realization that, okay, there's no turning back, because quitting is never an option. And because you've invested so much into this, in time, in money, in effort, just to get to the start line. You know, there's so many knockbacks getting to the start line. There's so many challenges, hiccups, whatever you want to call them. And so that really gives you a good dose of the stubborns, you know, like that whole, no matter what, I am not giving up. I am not quitting. So I really understand and appreciate that the struggle is essential. The struggle is what gives you the mongrel when the going gets tough in the event.
I love that. That quote is just sublime. So tell me something. On your journeys, over your 2 journeys, did you ever come across like a whale or you know, a big sea creature that you thought, oh my God, this could well topple me over?
Oh yeah. So when the whales come past you, past your vessel, they're bigger than me. You know, that they're at least as big as my boat or bigger. They're huge, and you see them because I'm rowing backwards, so I'm looking behind me, and I could see these massive shadows in the waves, in the, you know, the rolling waves. I could see their shadow. I'm like, oh. So you're just in total awe. There's this whole mix of emotions going through your body because you're in awe. And then there's this realization, if it wanted to, it could flick me in just a little flick of its tail. I'd be gone. It could upturn my vessel if it wanted to. It could. I know that. But, you know, in my instance, they were just on their way, and there was a whole fleet of them. I called it the whale army. And for about 2 hours, I just watched them. They were en route, and they were on a very specific mission, and they were just all heading in the same direction. So they gave me this amazing distraction from the boredom of rowing. You know, I'm rowing for 10 and 12 hours per day. That's my job. And all the other sea life and creatures that come to visit. It's just such a privilege. You know, the birds, the bird life, and a bird that would hover at eye level and stare at me, eyeball to eyeball. I could feel the wind from his flapping wings. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what are you trying to tell me? You know, who are you? So it becomes quite
They were just coming
spiritual.
to say hello, weren't they?
Yeah. And you start to believe that there's somebody.
It's amazing, really. You were so lucky in a way that they were on a mission, you know, and obviously you're still here. So that all went well. What about big storms, you know, big waves, you know, over the boat and things like that?
Yep. On the Atlantic, I didn't have any hurricanes or cyclones. So, but to me, you know, that was my first ocean row. So everything that I was seeing was like, oh my God, that's huge. Oh my God. But in actual fact, it wasn't really. But, you know, I've got nothing to compare it to. So by the time I got to the Pacific Ocean, now that's another beast. So the Pacific Ocean has, you know, lots of challenges. It's got the hurricanes coming down the coast of Mexico. Then as I come into the South Pacific, before you do that, you've got to get across the ITCZ, the International Conversion Zone, which is just a challenge with lots of tropical weather, storm cells. There's lots of currents that oppose each other. Then I've got to get across hundreds of miles of the equator to enter from North to South Pacific. Then when I get into the South Pacific, now I'm subject to cyclones. And they're also subject to lots of islands. If you have a look at Google Maps, there are so many islands in the South Pacific. So, and my boat doesn't want to go near islands. I don't want it to be near land. And I'm going for a record, the world record, which was to be completely solo, non-stop, unassisted. So, you know, I had to provision the boat.
Food supplies then, things like that. What about food supplies, water supplies?
No, I actually provisioned my boat for one whole year. I had 360 days worth of food on board, and they were in mostly dehydrated meals. I also have a water maker on board, an electric water maker. So I was desalinating the water every day. I was making fresh water.
That sounds very handy when you're on the ocean, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't pack enough water for 240 days. No way.
Couldn't. That
Yeah.
sounds perfect. So in all those storms and cyclones and tropical weather and everything like that, were you ever in a very, did you ever find yourself in a precarious situation that you had to deal with? And how did you do it?
Yeah, I had, 9 days I was locked up in my cabin, which is a watertight space, big enough for me to lay down flat. And if I sit up, my head just touches the ceiling. So it's not big, it's not huge, but, I can lay flat. So I was banged up in there for 9 whole days straight with Cyclone Gabrielle, which ripped through New Zealand as well. So, and in that 9 days, there's really not much to do except think about yourself and get over yourself. That was the big one. I had to get over myself. So, on day 3, I really had to have a good, long, hard talk to myself and fall into, surrender, acceptance, at peace. I had to be at peace with my position. I did loads of meditating. I had amazing material on my iPod. My iPod was full of, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Jose Silva. So I did.
Is that to say that you had Wi-Fi?
No Wi-Fi. So I downloaded all my material.
Oh, you downloaded it all. Okay, lucky.
Yeah. So once I got to the ocean, I didn't have any Wi-Fi connection whatsoever. So I couldn't update and my Audible list. So whatever I loaded before I left, that is all I had when I was out there. And I didn't have nearly enough.
What did you do when your entertainment ran out?
I re-listened to it again and again and again.
You had some company. That's great. But what it does sound like to me, and I will get on to some other questions soon, I think our listeners and viewers will be so inspired by your strength of your mental strength. It's incredible, really. And to think about the journey, what I want to ask you about actually is the journey of your mind's journey over a year.
Yeah, so the Atlantic highlighted that I needed to do a lot of head work for the Pacific Ocean. So I struggled with the Atlantic. That was 68 days because I did no head work. I just thought, oh, this would be heaven, being out there with no contact, with no email, no inbox, no Wi-Fi. Oh my God, it's going to be great. Well, I actually really suffered with the isolation factor. So for the Pacific Ocean, I did some very specific work. I adopted the Silver Ultra Mind Control technique. So it's a 4-day course. It was perfect. And it also was, I was concerned about things like, well, what if I get an earache? What if I get a toothache? Oh, what if I get appendicitis? The drama queen in me comes out and, oh God, if I get appendicitis, I could die out there. So I also wanted something where I could heal myself. So this led me into, I have to go and look for this stuff. And the Silver course was it. It was my answer. So I had long enough to do the course and then practice it. So by the time I got to the start line, these techniques were now tried, tested, and trusted. And also the techniques from Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton. I had breath work, I had meditation, and all of that, honest to God, it was so good that I won't change a thing. That's coming across with me on another ocean. And it serves me every day. It's techniques that I use every single day now. So if it works for me out there, it can work for you here in First World.
Absolutely. I think this is great for our listeners and viewers. And actually, I'd like to, Silva's not someone I've worked with, so I'm interested too. That's fantastic. All right, so now just moving on with our interview, because it is supposed to be around about half an hour. I want to ask you, at the moment, you are doing the speaking circuit. So I want to ask you how you started on that speaking circuit journey. For our listeners and viewers, in case they want to start, what did you do to begin with?
So I did a couple of talks when I came back. I was approached, by some corporates to come and share my story. So I did that. And what I found was I just felt like I was just me. So then I figured this is actually a skill. Doing this is a skill, and it's not I've never been a speaker before. So I actually then did a course for that as well, how to create a speaker business and how can I be able to give you all these beautiful messages that I've learned out there and make them, they're all universally translatable. They really are. They are.
They really are.
Yeah. So what worked for me out here, I know will help you here in First World. I just went and did a course to learn how can I now package this up to the person who not necessarily will ever row an ocean. So, for them, it's unrelatable. They're thinking, yeah, it's a cool story, but I'm never going to row an ocean. So now I can.
Rowing an ocean, is it?
So now I just look at, it's resilience, it's mindset, it's overcoming yourself. Also, how do we overcome all of these everyday obstacles and challenges that we're going to be faced with? Uncertainty in life is the only certainty. So how do we cope? Pardon?
It is actually the only certainty.
Yeah.
And it's the best place to be. And it's interesting because most people are really afraid of change. And so, if we know that uncertainty is the only certainty, well, there's so much more possibility, isn't there? In fact, you talk about the obstacles we overcome. My latest book is called Journey to Ease and Grace. So it's about not sweating the small stuff and reaching an equilibrium so that you can create, something new or whatever you'd like in your life. But I think it's a really important message, to share. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So the first few steps, they approached you and then you just kept going. And so why do you think now you're passionate about speaking to the public, getting out there and making those keynote speeches?
So I like to think that my story will inspire people to actually look at their life and go, oh my God, you mean we can? I hope I give them permission to ask for more, to want more, and to go and just try new stuff. Give it a go. Commit to a school term of something. Put a whole heap of things, Post-it notes of ideas into a hat. Draw it out and you say to yourself, no matter what, whether I like it or I don't, I'm going to commit to this. Because again, now just in that alone, you are building resilience. Starting what you finish, that then elevates your self-worth because, you don't feel like, oh, I failed. No, I didn't really like it, but gee, I did it anyway. And you will learn something because you're putting things in this hat that you've never done before. That's what the idea is, right? It's to try new things. So there's a lot of things that happens in the brain when we try new things, lights, bells, buzzers, everything's lighting up, you're getting new linkages and yeah. So
you're setting an intention, which is so powerful.
Absolutely. Yes. There's so many knock-on effects, domino effects of that. So, I hope that I inspire and give permission to people to do so. But also, my techniques with coping with just life. I always say, event hard so that you can life easy. So go and throw yourself into some really difficult challenges, choose them consciously, and go and put yourself in there and know that when you come out of this, you're raising the ceiling on your own resilience.
Yes.
So when other things come up, that little red carpet gets pulled from underneath you, it's not such a big deal and shock to your system because you're used to shocking it all the time. Keep throwing stuff at it.
Absolutely. And the more we go through, the more we can do that.
Correct.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. So what would you say have been your biggest challenges so far? And obviously you've overcome them. How did you do it?
Being obsessed. I was obsessed with this idea of, the notion to row the ocean. There was also, I came up with, one day I was sitting there thinking, gosh, because I was obsessed about this idea for 2 years. It was in my head, plaguing me for 2 years. I read the book, and for 2 years I obsessed over this idea. And then one day I said, oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to die wondering. So don't die wondering. Take the steps that is required to give it a go, and just give it your best red hot shot. And also start thinking you can and you will. That was my motto. It became my mantra. Start thinking you can and you will. You know, so these were the things that really drove me and motivated me, and I now live by them today. So
okay, so that was actually my next question. How do you keep motivated through difficult times? So I think that applies for that as well, doesn't it?
absolutely. So be connected emotionally to that dream, that desire. So you sit down and you actually ask yourself, okay, I want to row across an ocean. Well, what will that actually do for my life? Why do I want to row across an ocean? And you start getting
why?
Yeah, get specific with everything that's going to bring into your life. And, you know, then you have to feel the feeling. Imagine it's done. So I saw myself cross that finish line a million times before I even built the boat. Before I even launched the boat and put an oar in the water, I had crossed that finish line a million times. So you've got to get connected with that yes feeling, you know.
This is awesome. Great advice. Thank you. Now, speaking of advice, what is the best advice you yourself have received recently?
Do not let perfection get in the way of progress.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's like a reset. You know, you have an idea that things are going to go like this, 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 and this, and this. And we can very easily become very rigid in it must happen this way.
This way.
So I love it. Don't let perfection get in the way of your progress.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. Thank you. Now, my next question to you is, what are your current goals and how are you striving to achieve them?
Strength and fitness is always a goal for me. So I train every day. And yeah, so strength and fitness, always want to be better, faster, stronger. And even just with flexibility and mobility. So I'm really focusing on that at the moment, on my mobility and flexibility. So, you know, keeping the foundation strong so that I can avoid injury, because I'm getting older now. I'm 53 years old. And hiking, I've just completed the 3 Capes hike in Tasmania. So that requires me to be able to carry my backpack and all my belongings, all my food, you know, these hikes that my friends and I do, we always go so that we are self-sufficient, independent. We carry everything in, carry everything out, pitch our tents, put them down, you name it. And, you know, I did the Larapinta last year, Larapinta Trail, which is extremely difficult. I just came out of, like 2 weeks ago, the 10-day Vipassana silent retreat.
You did Vipassana?
I love it, yeah. So that was...
Well, that's a lot of sitting.
Yes, which hurts me.
That.
Yeah, see, that goes against, you know, everything that I am. Like, I've got 5 jobs and not one of them is a sitting job. I do not sit. So
I guess what you're saying, your goal is to do more of what you're doing, really.
Yes, that's right. So, and yeah, of course, I've got another ocean that's calling and tapping and tormenting me.
Okay, tell us about that.
The Indian Ocean would complete my lap of the, you know, planet. So it's always nagging me, and I know what happens there. You've got to address it, otherwise I'm going to die wondering, right? So I'm literally just starting like from scratch with that one. I've just built my spreadsheet with, you know, all of the stuff that I need so that I have some idea, you know, how much money am I looking for?
So
how much do I need?
You have actually started. What was there? That leads me to ask, what was the time gap between the Atlantic and the Pacific?
4 years.
Right. And when did you come back?
We had COVID in that 4 years.
Okay. So when did you come back from your Atlantic trip?
I finished the Atlantic in 2019. And then I left Mexico to row across Australia in August 2022. So that's 3 years. And then I came home. I made it to Port Douglas 240 days later, 8 months later, on the 8th of April 2023. So I left in August 22, came home April 2023.
Okay, so it's been 3 years and now you've got itchy
You get
feet.
itchy. I get very itchy. I get very agitated, you know.
It's awesome. Okay, so at the moment, well, my next question to you, I don't know if it applies to you at all. Are you currently running any promos, contests, or giveaways? I don't think that really relates to you, does it? I've got a better question for you.
Coming off the back of this, I will offer a promo actually. I will go to the first 10 workplaces who want to book me to come and talk. I will come and do a session at your workplace at a rock bottom price.
Okay, that's a great offer.
Okay, so should I set the price now, or do you want me to put it in a link?
No, I think that's no, don't do it.
Right.
So for our listeners and viewers, please contact Michelle Lee and she will come along, and for the first 10 of you, she will give you an awesome offer.
Yes, totally.
Fantastic. Now, I have one question for our listeners and viewers. What advice would you give to other aspiring women?
To back yourself, and what will help you there is make sure you're taking the positive steps in the direction that you need to be to achieve that dream or that goal. So don't just be sitting on your bottom going, oh, come on, universe, come on, deliver. No. If it means picking up the phone call and starting to speak to the experts to acquire what it is you need, you start with that phone call. You write it down, get connected to it. Remember, we're going to get connected to it emotionally. Then we're going to see ourselves doing it. We're going to tick all the boxes. What would that mean for my life? And then you are going to take positive steps towards doing that. No matter how outlandish it sounds, you just start. And then the ball will start rolling. Yeah, so the first steps are always the hardest, always. And that little birdie, that imposter syndrome, you're going to have to fight with him. And that's a discipline. It's just a discipline.
It really is. It's really changing those thoughts around.
Absolutely. Yep. And the more you quieten him down, the more you feel you can step up and stand out. So, and especially when you're taking those steps, because then you start to feel like, oh, I deserve this, man, you know. So I found as soon as I started, you know, I committed to do that world record on the indoor row machine. I found that that's when I really stepped into my power, because I was really taking the positive steps. I bought the machine. The machine was sitting in my lounge room. I had the whiteboard, you know, the whiteboard with the 7-day, 2 programs a day. I was doing it, man. So now I feel like I can own it.
You are so awesome. And, you know, for our listeners and viewers, the thing is, when you have a big dream, you know, there's no need to get overwhelmed if you take one step at a time. Just keep going, one step at a time. Just do something every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so my very last question to you, Michelle, it's been such an inspiring, amazing interview. Thank you. Is how can we connect with you?
Okay, all my socials, so the LinkedIn, Insta, Facebook, they're my socials. We'll put those links up.
What are your handles? Like, what are your usernames?
Michelle Lee Solo Rower.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle Lee Solo Rower. You'll find me. You just put that in Google. I can run, but I can't hide now.
You're famous. Okay, so it's Michelle Lee Solo Rower, sorry. And you also have your website, which is solorower.com.
Correct.
So everyone get in touch with Michelle. And for the first 10 of you, don't forget she'll come and speak for you. Michelle, I want to hear, please keep me posted on your next trip. And I wish you amazing success and a million thank yous to you for this awe-inspiring interview. Thank you.
Tula, thank you. It's been a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for your enthusiasm. I love it.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Gotta Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.